Is anyone really surprised? Well, I'm sure you've heard it already. Brian Mariotti is out the door for show. He is no longer with Funko. He's out. Fuck it, he's gone.
I've been waiting this whole time because you really could have done more with that out the dough for show, but you just said fuck it and you ruined everything. He's out the dough, faux show, ain't a CEO, no mo.
Oh my God, you're right, I should have just shut up.
I know, but you don't know how. You got that big old mouth with them big old teeth that doesn't know how to just shut the up once in a while. But just so you know, he ain't out the dough, faux show, as CEO, no mo. What did I say?
I don't know anymore.
Any mo. As we know, Brian Mariotti stepped down as CEO about a month and a half ago, and he took a 6-month sabbatical, he said. However, I don't think he stepped down. I think he sort of was like pushed out. But now he's decided that he's completely stepping away from Funko as an actual employee, sort of, I think. But he is taking on an advisory role.
Advisory?
Yeah, I mean, didn't he advise them enough?
He might advise to run them right into the ground some more.
How much lower can they go? So yesterday, September 1st of 2023, the toybook.com put out a really nice and well-written article about Brian Mariotti's resignation.
Now, who's the Toy Book?
So the Toy Book is an online-based toy news company. However, I do believe they do print once in a while.
That's pretty cool, all right.
Yeah, they're very informative. It's really well-written so far, and they also do toy awards each year, which is pretty cool. They talk about all sorts of toys, like all across the board.
I will be reading the Toy Book more often, Heather. You talked me into it.
Yeah, they're pretty great, especially from what I'm seeing here. The title of this article is Funko's Brian Mariotti resigns from the company, steps into advisory role. So it basically tells you everything you need to know about it.
Funko, you could have just hired me to be your advisor. I would have told you to get Brian Mary the out of there.
Who's Brian Mary?
I said Brian Mariotti.
You said Brian Mary.
I didn't say Brian Mary. Brian Mary. Brian Mary. Brian Mary. Funko, you should have just hired me as your advisor. I would have told you to get Brian Mariotti the out of there.
I don't want to put all of the blame on Brian Mariotti. I don't think it's fair to put all of the blame on one person.
No, you can't blame everything on him. And by the way, he's the one that got the whole pop thing off the ground.
He really did.
He got them to be $1 billion company.
Yeah.
I mean, so Brian did a lot for the company. Although
really did.
we look at him like he's a monster because we've heard stories behind the scenes that he is much of a tyrant.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. You got to give credit where credit is due.
I really hate that we've sort of put this negative title on him, although we have heard a lot of crazy stories.
Oh, Heather, the stories are terrible.
A company this large, the fault isn't just on one person. I mean, even with the sticker scenario that happened at Fun Days, one person sort of said, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, and other people okayed it. It's not just like one person was like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. The rest of you, I don't care what you say, this is what I'm doing. They all said, hey, let's do it. They probably vote for I don't know. I don't know how the things work, but I know that it's not just all on one person. But let's read a bit into this article. This article was written by James Zahn. I found it really informative, and it was also an easy read. It wasn't too technical. It didn't lose my interest. It's written very well.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, you're the best.
By the way, James, we have a toy company called MISCHIEF Toys, and we have a little character named Ghastly. So if you're giving away any of those awards, hit us up.
I don't know.
I was shameless self-promotion. Just let me do it.
I mean, what if he writes an article like this about us?
That we're pieces of
Hey!
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Let's dive into this article. And I'm gonna leave some parts of it out just because I don't want to get too boring. But as we go along, we're gonna read about it. I'm gonna talk about the important points. And I also want to discuss how you and I feel. He first starts talking about publicly traded companies and the fact that they have to make certain details public as it's required by law. The reason we know so much about the inner workings of Funko is because they are publicly traded, and the law says, hey, you gotta tell people this.
It's all public information.
Yeah, so...
Never did I think when I started making videos about Funko product that we would be talking about the inner workings of their corporate structure, but here we are.
Yeah, it's very interesting to say the least.
Like, what other toy company has YouTubers talking about their corporate structure or their CEO? A lot of people don't give a is because there is so much drama and it's so easy to make content about this drama. It's more than just unboxings and vinyl figures.
I was gonna do a spin on gin and juice, but I figure it'll come off really stupid.
Okay.
But I sort of want to.
Okay, go ahead.
Should I
do
do
it?
it?
Do it. Go ahead, sure.
Okay. There's so much drama in the Funko B.I.Z. It's kind of hard being Brian Mariotti. I tried.
Why'd you try? Why'd you even start?
I shouldn't have.
That was so embarrassing.
You mentioned drama.
That was so embarrassing.
Listen, it just came to me. Hip Hop Heather is here to stay. She comes out at the weirdest times.
Oh,
man.
that was horrible.
You know what? Somebody out there is gonna appreciate it.
That's the worst thing we've ever done.
You know
That was
what?
the worst thing you've ever done. That was horrible.
Why don't you just shut up? Like, shut that big old mouth of yours.
You got any more of those things? Whatever
You know
they
what?
called that.
Didn't you just call Brian Mariotti Brian Mary? So shut the f*** up. Brian Mariotti, director and former CEO of Funko Inc., turned in his resignation as a member of the board and as an employee of the company. The move comes just 6 weeks after Mariotti ceased serving as CEO and was placed on what was touted as a 6-month sabbatical. Now, I like this James guy already because he put 6-month sabbatical in quotation marks. I think that's because he knew that that was bull.
Brian no longer being on the board is a huge deal because that means he doesn't have say anymore. So they might go to him and say, we're going to come up with this product or whatever, we're going to move monies or we're going to do this or we're going to do that. What do you think, Brian? And he's like, well, I think you probably should do that. And they go, okay, Brian, shut the fuck up and leave. Hey, but anyway, they push him out.
Don't be mean. Aw. Mariotti, who previously owned Funko, having purchased the company from founder Mike Becker in 2005, returned to his post as CEO in December, as we all know, amid a tumultuous leadership shuffle and a raft of abrupt firing that took place around Thanksgiving. So that was when they got rid of most of their social media team, amongst some other roles within the company.
That's when puppets became their social media team.
Yeah,
It
and
was
now...
a very weird time for Funko.
Yeah, they don't really have much of a social media team, if at all, anymore. It's really bizarre what they're doing.
It is weird.
Yeah.
We would be their social media team any day. We would everything up really bad.
I know,
And we
that
would
would be
have
fun.
really bad Heather wraps.
They would be really good.
No.
Just like the one you saw a couple minutes ago.
That was horrible.
Yourself.
Remind me how to go again?
No, you can only get that magic once.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me, but yeah.
You know what? You. This year, despite having a solid fan base and steady stream of new products, Funko, which became a billion-dollar company in 2021, has continued to battle a duality between roller coaster earnings and internal challenges to find a balance between consumer demand and opportunities for organizational and operational improvement.
Okay, what they just said there was they made way too much product and now they can't sell any of it.
So back in March, the company said they were reducing its workforce by 10%, and then followed the news with cuts in its Mondo division just 3 weeks later. And in May, representatives for Funko stated that the company was facing right sizing. July, Mariotti was out and an additional 13% reduction in workforce was implemented. So July was when they let the 180 some people go, which was a pretty big loss to a company of this size.
Yeah, but the even bigger one happened earlier this year, which is a story that we broke here on the channel.
Yes.
And it was even shared by Dish Trackers on social media, which was insanity because he doesn't really do that often.
Yeah, he doesn't share much from Funko YouTube at all. I know that he does watch it from time to time, but it's hardly ever shared.
And a lot of people were questioning how we obtained that information and if it was legitimate. And we have our sources. We've had sources for quite some time, and they're very good sources sources, and pretty much anything they have told us has either become true in that moment or down the road.
Yes, so I actually came across a comment on Discord where someone was basically questioning legitimacy of sources, and they weren't necessarily questioning us, but our name did get brought up, and it wasn't in a negative way. It was basically like, you know, they have their sources. And someone made a comment along the lines of, until that source proves who they are, what they say doesn't mean anything. I just want to let you all know that anything that we say that comes from sources, as much as we come across as sort of like silly and goofy all of the time, we do vet our sources. We do receive resumes, we receive portfolios, and at times, if there's not really a resume or portfolio attached to something we receive, we do go to other people who had previously worked at Funko and said, hey, do you know who this person is?
Exactly, yeah.
So we ensure that whoever we are talking to is who they say they are, and we do our best to say what we can, because there's a lot of things that we've been told that we cannot say.
Absolutely. There's a lot of behind the scenes stories that we cannot share, and we probably never will. Some of them are absolutely horrible, which makes us hate the big B. But a lot of these sources actually work for Mischief Toys in some capacity now.
Yes, which is really cool. We have hired 3D designers. We have hired somebody to put together plush. We have hired people for paint jobs. It's really, really cool. These are super talented people, and we are so lucky to have found them to do the bit of freelance work that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a huge plus to the Mischief Toys team. We appreciate all of them. And we actually do know some former Funko employees looking for work right now. So if you're watching this video and you're part of one of these large toy companies, or some sort of company, it doesn't have to be large, but a company looking for 3D designers and artists and all that type of thing, please reach out to us directly. Gastlecast@gmail.com, and we will get you hooked up. Please email us from your company email.
I ain't talking to no hoes on no Yahoo email addresses, so don't even think about it.
We're not talking any yahoos. That's what you should have said. That was pretty funny. Before we go any further, we just want to mention to check out 7bucksapop.com. They actually have an awesome signature series up right now. It's a Jeremy Renner signed Hawkeye, and there's multiple figures there that you can get when you make your purchase. In fact, there's even a proto involved. So check out 7bucksapop.com, look for their signature series tab, and buy yours today. I know I'll be getting mine.
Their signature series is amazing. Definitely follow their newsletter and their social media, because they put something out every single Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and they have a huge selection of signature series all the time between voice artists, anime artists, big names like Jeremy Renner. It is just incredible. So back to the article. He cites the interim CEO, Michael Lunsford's famous quote, where he says that Funko is being reshaped and run like a lean startup.
Yeah, so those words sound to me like they're saving face with us, the Funko collectors, because they want us to think they're not a corporate giant, they're not publicly traded, but hey, we're going back to the good old days. Remember the good old days? Back in 2012, 2013, 2014, when we had all these cool Funko Pops and we were growing and we were awesome before we went public? We're going back to then. Like they're bullshitting us.
They are publicly traded. There's no way that they can become as small as they were at some point before and continue to be $1 billion company. They just can't sustain as the giant that they are if they are a lean startup. So under the terms of Brian Mariotti's employment agreement, he is exiting for good reason, will continue to be paid his base salary for an additional year, and continue to receive company paid premium payments, including Cobra, should he elect that form of coverage. And Cobra is essentially like a benefits package. So Mariotti is no longer an official employee, but he has entered into a 2-year advisory contract with Funko for consulting services. He will be paid $50,000 each quarter, which amounts to $200,000 a year, provided he and the company do not part ways. And that's an interesting statement, because with a contract, I would suspect it would be pretty difficult for them to part ways. But there's probably some sort of terms in there saying under which circumstances they can
Well,
part
maybe
ways.
if he goes to work somewhere else and like now he's moving on and they break that agreement. I don't know. Who knows? All I know is that he's making a lot of money doing nothing.
Or not very much, at least.
Right.
So then James asked the question, what do all of these changes mean? And this is where he puts in his opinion, which aligns with me and Chris's surprisingly. It says, from an outsider perspective, it looks as if Funko could be prepping for an eventual sale.
That makes sense because they're leaning up their company. They're getting rid of a bunch of people.
Including the CEO.
Including the CEO. They don't even have a real CEO. It's an interim CEO. I've heard that they might be sold to GameStop. And I also wondered, could they be sold to Disney?
I feel like there would be something weird there legally because not only do they have Disney licenses, but they also have outside licenses. So I would just wonder how they can sort of navigate through that.
I don't think that matters. I think if they have all of these licenses, that it wouldn't matter to Disney because they would just want to sell everything that they possibly can. They're making money, let's say, off of DC or off of NBC related stuff. What does it matter to them? NBC, by the way, not Nightmare Before Christmas, but like NBC, the channel.
I don't know. I just feel like there might be something sort of I don't know.
I don't know either, but it does seem like they're going to get bought out by somebody because everything has been really weird lately with Funko. It just seems really, it isn't what it felt like before where we were constantly getting like updated information. We were getting previews of stuff like often. They were constantly in our face with marketing.
Did we even get Funko Ween this year?
I don't think so.
I don't think we did.
But it just, everything is just so distant. It feels distant to me. Now, you might feel differently. I would love to know your feelings in the comment section down below. It just does not seem at the same level of marketing as it was before.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't have a social media team right now.
That too.
So
that's a huge problem.
That's a big problem in my opinion. So then he gets into talking a little bit about how last year Funko was subject to a $263 million strategic investment from the Chernin Group, which is like a group of investors to include Bob Iger from Disney and Rich Paul, who is the CEO and founder of Clutch Sports Group. I'm wondering if he's sort of speculating like maybe they or some of they would be part of the purchasing of Funko.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I'm curious about that myself because he doesn't really elaborate very much about that. And then he ends it by saying that Funko is set to exhibit at the Toy Association's Toy Fair later this month. The event kicks off on September 30th at the Javits Center in New York City. The toy book will unleash its jumbo-sized Toy Fair issue that same day.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's their print magazine, I believe.
Maybe one day we'll find MISCHIEF toys in there. Is it possible?
James, you hear that? So we did talk a bit about our thoughts as far as Funko potentially being purchased. Now, will this happen? We don't know. But I'm curious to see how this whole lean startup thing is going to go, how they're going to continue to grow. Are they going to listen to their consumers and better the company? Or are they going to continue to just piss collectors off?
Right, by making too much product because all of us hate seeing that. We were just at Target the other day and the amount that they had on the shelves was ridiculous. At this point, all I know is that a lot of fans are turning their backs on Funko. And that's because we like limited pieces and we like something new and spectacular. And it feels like lately that Funko just keeps making the same old thing over and over and over, and then they make new product lines that nobody gives a shit about, i.e. Funko Rewinds.
Which I hate because I love the Rewinds. I think they're so much fun.
Rewinds are fun, but they're not great. It's a weird line. This is a weird line, Funko. I don't know what you're doing with this. It's weird.
I like it personally, but I do understand where a majority of people do feel like they're too close to sodas.
They're weird products.
I love the presentation, damn it.
It's just a weird product.
To be a company of this size, they're going to have a hard time appeasing collectors who want limited pieces, as well as growing to be this billion-dollar-plus company, because you can't make limited amounts of pieces, but also make $1 billion.
No, you have to have a common line that makes sense. I think that Funko Pops have another step in their evolution. Something has to happen with the Funko Pop. Either you keep it the same or we have a product that's equal to or something different that gets us all back on the train again and willing to buy our favorite characters again. Like, they have to make some sort of change. The NFT thing is not working very well. The Funko Rewind stuff isn't working very well. Funko Pop is the king. So they have to do something with that. Additionally, maybe even more entertainment when it comes to video games, movies, TV shows. We talked talked about this when they were covered by a news station. Like, they basically said that Funko has to figure out a way to grow outside of whatever they're doing today in order to continue to grow to be the billion-dollar company. But I think they're just going to be sold to somebody else, and I feel like that somebody else most likely will drive Funko into the ground, because I don't know who else understands Funko better than Funko themselves, specifically Mike Becker.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me what I think should happen with Funko today, it should be that you take Mike Becker and a team of his people, whomever those people are.
Yes, one person definitely being a business person for sure, but you need the collector mindset in it. And I feel like Mike is just full of fun, full of energy, and he knows collectors. He knows what collectors want because he's a collector himself.
So Funko basically needs to take Mike and whoever his team is going to be and sort of figure out the trajectory of Funko. I think he is the source of everything, although I could be completely wrong. I don't work with Mike Becker, so Mike Becker might not be the perfect fit, but from how I see it, this guy is full of fun, innovation, and he seems to be a creator. So why not have Mike Becker have his hands deeper in all of this? And nowhere in that article does it mention Mike Becker.
This one did mention Mike Becker. They said that Brian bought Funko from Mike Becker.
That was it,
but
right?
That was it.
That's it.
Yeah, I feel like Mike needs to have a hand in the business aspect a bit more than he does now, because I don't know exactly what he does, but I feel like he could help make the right decisions with a business savvy person on his side.
Exactly. So now we want to see where Funko goes. Hopefully it's in a good direction. Hopefully they can pick up the pieces and grow into a better Funko again. Who knows? We have no idea. All we can do is cover all the stories that end up popping up like they have been over the last couple of days and past couple months. But we would like to know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. Thank you for staying until the very end of the video. We really appreciate all of your support. In every video, we like to shout out to some of our patrons from Patreon. In this video, we'd like to shout out to Isaac Lucas, Mark Wright, Veronica Knotts, David Asadorian, Harley Malk, Marcus Gonzalez, Nathan Maidment, Devontae McFarland, Wayne Garber, and Sean Green. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. We appreciate all of our patrons. You guys rock!